for joining us on this Tata Communication powered Smart LED eConnect webinar today. I am Neha Mandal from Cooperative Research and I will be your host for today. Cooperative Research has been raising awareness on the urban planning related issues and the role of modern technologies in planning urban areas and general citizen welfare. We started in the fall of 2016 with the aim of becoming a global leader and a global platform for knowledge dissemination. Over the last 3 years, it has been an exciting journey from moving from a training role to playing an active role in educating and spreading awareness about water, finance, safety, and security related issues. Our delegates expect to hear from industry's best practitioners, technology providers, can get the direct contact with regulators and stimulate high level of discussions with peers. Our focus is increasingly on bringing the latest technologies and the best practices to urban innovation and planning via a series of webinars and conferences. Our aim is to bring the entire community of consultants, think tanks, and the policymakers, the technology providers together via virtual conferences and webinars. I am grateful to all of you for joining us today. Smart LED eConnect is our flagship online event for smart LED structure management and government initiative for urban areas. The webinar is based on how the fusion of smart LED technologies combined with the internet connectivity has urged a new era of brighter India. Year 2020 changed the way we work and think. Importantly, it has brought in a mindset shift that our lives can be a lot more automated and we can trust automation and internet as a way for managing our physical assets, including water and power. It also led to a faster adoption of technologies, making webinars and work from home as a norm. An equally important effect was seen in the way the government approached for the management of the cities. Smart LED eConnect is about the collective learning of civic bodies and corporates. The idea is to disseminate this cumulative learning and intelligence so that the other urban bodies can take a note of it and apply those lessons. For today's program, we have multiple keynotes from different smart cities. Our first keynote is by Dr. Sanjay Kolte, IAS. Shri Kolte is the CEO of Pune Smart City. This will be followed by another keynote by a presentation of our sponsor, Tata Communication, on how are the technology leaders for smart LED implementation. Dharmendra Tomar, Head Utilities, IoT Business, Tata Communications, will be presenting on behalf of Tata Communication. We have an exciting panel on future innovation impact on urban lighting and planning. We will be discussing and covering various topics like how widespread smart poles and lights can be the smart cities virtual assets, planning aspect of smart cities lighting, PPP model for smart LED in the smart cities. We have multiple domain experts speaking on this panel, so stay glued for some important questions and some major knowledge transfers. With this lineup, now I would like to invite our first speaker, Dr. Sanjay Kolte, IAS. Shri Sanjay Kolte is the CEO of Pune Smart City. Dr. Sanjay is a 2010 batch IAS officer. Before Pune, he was the CEO at the Osmanabad Zilla Parishad. Along with the Smart City position, Dr. Sanjay Kolte was also the charge as Chief Executive Officer of the Slum Rehabilitation Authority in Pune. We had a chance to speak to him on this forum despite his busy schedule, and we are grateful to him for agreeing to speak at our webinar. Over to you, sir.
Yeah, good afternoon.
Good afternoon, sir.
I'll share my screen.
Sure, sir. Yes, sir. Now your screen is visible. And I can see your first slide.
Now?
Yes, sir. Second slide. Overview smart street lights.
Yeah. Now the main objectives behind this implementation of smart street LED lighting project was to achieve the citizen safety to enhance the citizen safety rather, saving of energy, centralized control that was through the SCADA of smart city LED lighting, whose control was again established at the ICCC of the Pune Smart City, and then the reduced maintenance cost was another objective. The project was implemented on PPP mode, and it was the biggest project of street lighting on PPP mode at that time in the country. Now this is my third slide, challenges.
Yes, sir. We can see
Is
this.
it okay?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, the normal challenges faced in conventional street lighting system is the burden of high energy consumption is there, and then the load causing problems are more. Then the problems related to billing are all there. Digital outreach is not available for the operators as well as the citizens, and then we are unable to control the environment impact with the conventional or traditional public street lighting. So these things have been overcome in the smart LED lighting project. Here we have replaced 93,370 lights of sodium vapor or mercury vapor T5 and floodlights. They have been replaced by smart LED lighting with dimming facilities. They are highly efficient and also of the required luminary standards. The standardized hardware is also accompanying with this project, and the system has smart dimming capabilities. Through the ICCC, we can control the dimming or brightening. Controls are available for the picture of because of the PPP model. Again, there is reduced expenditure in terms of absence of any financial burden on the PMC or the SPV or the citizens also. There is also saving of 58% in terms of energy, and carbon footprints have been reduced by 6% by way of these lights in the 5 years. Total energy saving has been calculated to be up to 14.71 crore kilowatt hours, and if you monetarily compare it to, it comes to 10.4 crore rupees. So the daily consumption, which was earlier in the conventional lighting system at 14,823 kilowatt per day, which has now been reduced to 6,000 kilowatt per day. Almost this energy saving is equivalent to 20,000 tons of coal per year, and the integration of command and control center with the SCADA of this LED light project has been achieved hereby. There is no additional cost here again, because the private in turn the private operator is paying, he's sharing his energy savings with the PMC. The main stakeholders are the system integrator Tata Projects, the Pune Municipal Corporation, the Pune Smart City SPV, and the citizens. Here the PPP operator is responsible for operating the system for 12 years with maximum downtime of only 48 hours. Now, these LED lights are internally connected to the feeder points. These feeder points have been mapped, and through SCADA, they can be controlled from the ICCC. There is a centralized SCADA system with ESCO basis. And the citizens also have facility through mobile app to log on and find out the position or put forth their grievances or complaints, if any, regarding the street lights. The energy savings is a very significant, as I already mentioned. There are now the breakdowns or maintenance problems have been reduced. Maintenance cost has been significantly reduced, and environment friendly system has been thereby been established in the city. There has been improvement in the quality of the street lights, and it has added to the safety on the roads and across the city for the inhabitants. There's real-time data is streamed from the infrastructure, because the hardware and software from this system is making us able to derive real-time data, and intelligent management of street light is thereby possible. there is ubiquitous data captured from intelligent street lighting nodes, and the police department also, with the help of this system, are able to realign their patrolling strategies, and with the help of with giving priority to the community needs, they are able to modify this and ultimately add to the services for the citizens. This has also enhanced it displays the real-time images, audios, and videos and location data retrieved from smart streetlight nodes during distress for this 100 or 108 calls. And that overall, there has been improvement in the situational awareness for the city administrators, police, and the safety officials. These are some of the visuals about this is the before situation and after implementation of smart LED street lights. There has been significant improvement in the amount of light, quality of light. This is the control centralized SCADA system being maintained and monitored by the staff. That is all. Thank you. I think you are mute.
Yes,
Neha?
Yes, sir.
You mute.
Thank you, sir, for your opinions and expertise. And I think your opinion will surely ignite the mind of the young listeners, and they'll make the strategies accordingly ahead. And I'm grateful to you for your immediate acceptance, sir. Thank you for giving us the time. In such a short span of time, you've given us a lot of knowledge that will, of course, help us to put some important notes on it. Thank you for Tata Communication also. Here we have the sponsor also, Tata Communication, presenting their technology. Now I would thank you so much, sir. Thank you, sir. Next, we have the presentation from Tata Communication on street LED solution. This will be presented by Shri Dharmendra Tomar, Head Utilities, IoT Business, Tata Communication. Shri Dharmendra is a multi-dimensional personality who has 20 years of rich experience in industrial automation, M2M, and Internet of Things across the industries globally in capacity of heading various functions in reputed organizations. Over to you, sir. Sir, you are on mute. You'll have to unmute yourself.
Yeah. Good afternoon, Neha, and all other delegates and the participants in this event. I'm not able to see the list. I'm sorry, I cannot call the names. Maybe Neha, you can help me out. Who all are there in the panel right now, so that I could be really connecting with them.
First you have your presentation, and then after your presentation we'll have the panel.
Okay, sure.
If we can have the presentation first.
Yeah. So Neha, thanks for introducing me. I am part of Tata Communications, and we started IoT business unit within the Tata Communications way back in 2015, just to address the Internet of Things market, which was a big buzz at that moment, and we really wanted to be part of that journey of digitalization by using our legacy that we are leader in the communication world today, and how we can participate in digitalization of the operations of the utilities. So we worked with most of the utilities on a all India basis, and we gone through very good journey of learning, and finally we found out a lot of solutions in the collaborations with the utilities, and we deployed a lot of things. And thanks to Mr. Sanjay also, he mentioned a lot of things about street lighting and what he has achieved in Pune. It is really a remarkable journey for the Pune city. And we also did a lot of implementation of the street lighting in various parts of the country, I will really bring those points in my discussion. Will also mention something about the Noida city, which is also equally good about like Pune, and I feel it's greatest lighting we have in India right now, that we can showcase at the world platform. That smart lighting, and that too managing the individual light monitoring and control in the Noida city. So Neha, maybe you can go to the next slide. I will just introduce about the Tata Communication, then I will go through the IoT solutions and what the technology we are offering. Okay, so please move on to the second slide. This is just
Second slide. Yes.
just to introduce Tata Communication. As I mentioned, we are the legacy communication company. Way back in 2002, Tata Group acquired the VSNL, and that company has been transformed to right now Tata Communications. And post that, we invested a lot on the fiber optic system, and we are the only one company across the globe who has fiber optic cable laid out across the earth, and we have complete almost 7.5 lakh 5 kilometer of fiber optic cable laid out across the earth, and we are the leader, in fact having 25% market share in internet data across the globe, and we are having a presence in most of the countries today for providing the data communications, or you can say the internet connectivity uh, among the countries. And we are consistently coming into the Gartner Magic Quadrant for last 7 years in a row, which is really enabling digital infrastructure for the corporates and the governments and the countries, for so long as of now. So with this, we can say we have a great presence in the communications and a stable organization with having more than 8,000 employees in place, located at various locations across the countries. Can you please move on to the next slide?
Yes, sir.
So it's just what I said, 25% market share and all. And we are really promising here to establish the infrastructure on long-term basis, 5 years, 10 years down the line, to provide the digital connectivity for the corporates having offices located at various places within the country and across the globe. Yeah, please move on to the next one.
Yes, sir.
So on the solutions front, we have we really have a cutting edge technology in hand. We are into mobility and IoT business, in the collaborations, conferencing systems, net foundry business, next generation connectivity, cloud, edge and security, managed services, I would say, and data centers. We provide data center services. And also we are leader in the voice connectivity when it comes to the international, as an international carrier. So I will now focus more on the mobility and IoT solutions, which the business I am working with right now. So can you please move on to the next slide?
Yes, sir.
So as I mentioned, we started our IoT journey in 2015 with trying multiple applications in collaborations directly with the utilities. Utilities means smart cities, various smart cities, ULBs, and then the industries, especially I would say power utilities, and then gas CGD utilities, manufacturing utilities, mining and steel industry. So we found out 6 flagship programs which we are running today. One is the asset tracking solutions, in that we really track the mobile and fixed assets by providing the GPS LoRa log trackers. And then the employee health and safety solutions, where we provide the wearables, safety watch, and the wearable device, like badge ID card, which we use in any office. By that, we can really achieve the operational efficiency, how people are working, how they are behaving, and also their safety. Like in steel manufacturing or in the mining area, there is a lot of risk to the health of the workers, and there are a lot of lone workers are there in those plants in thousands of numbers. So we really track their locations, and also we provide them the some SOS alert, along with in especially in the gas area or the mining area, there are some hazardous gases are possible. For that, we provide the devices enabled with the gas sensors. With that, we got to know if there is any incident happens, it reported at the control center, and the rescue could be managed with that. So that we are doing. Then environmental monitoring. So this is an application we are doing with the utilities as well as with the closed compound offices as well. So in that, we are monitoring the air conditioning, like temperature and humidity. So as of now, we are monitoring two airports, like one is Calcutta and Bangalore airport, where uh, our sister concern Voltas has provided the air conditioning as a service. So in each major locations or the areas of the airport, we place the devices. That those devices are really giving the information in real time about the temperature and the humidity of those areas. By that, we really digitalize the operation, and we can really use the energy very efficiently. If temperature is going down beyond the set limit, so then we can really switch off the AC, or change the configuration of the AC. By that, we can really save the energy. And then the smart lighting solution. This is the solution which we are talking about also in the beginning. So in that, we have launched the individual light monitoring system. In that, we provide a street light controller that could be fixed in a existing lamp, I would say in a retrofit project, and then it can also be fixed in the new lights, where light comes with the fixed new interface, like NIVA interface, and that could be plug and play in the new light to control the light, along with also monitor additional information from the pole if you want to get from that, along with the geolocation of the street light pole. And third solution is the inbuilt controller within the LED fixture. So these are the solutions we are catering in the street lighting solution. We have smart button solutions also to get the feedback, and also SOS button on the poles, and some emergency services to be enabled on the pole. And then AMI solutions we are addressing with the, I would say, automated metering solutions in all utilities, energy, water, and gas. So as of now, in gas, we have implemented prepaid gas metering system for IGL in Delhi and Rewari, where customer has to pay in advance, and there is no hitch of billing and other issues which is normally happening in the prepaid gas metering system. And we have also launched the water metering solutions. And besides that, we have also launched smart electricity metering along with the DLMS compliance and the prepaid electricity metering. So these are the key solutions we are addressing with the market today to enable the IoT in the utilities. Please move on to the next slide.
Yes, sir.
So this is I will cover in very brief. So in IoT ecosystem, there are basically 4 pillars. I would say sensor, second is the connectivity, third is the platform or the application, and the fourth layer is the application. By that, we can do the analytics, and we can create the value. We can do the horizontal integration along with the vertical integration to enable the machine learning or the artificial intelligence in the roadmap. So we are present in all 4 pillars. We have in-house products. Also, we have equipments from the partners. Connectivity, we are providing the LoRaWAN connectivity to enable the IoT solutions. And then we have in-house IoT platform. And on top of that, we have analytics running on top of this. So please move on.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, so this is the architecture. It's a bit technical, but on the left-hand side, you can see end nodes. These are the basically any kind of sensor or meter or utility asset, like street light, utility, water meter, energy meter, gas meter, trash container, any kind of asset which is falling under, either in the plant or in the utility or under smart city. In the middle row, you can see the backhaul, which is based on the LoRaWAN, and then the network server and the end application on the rightmost side. So those applications we really make tailor-made for the customers. Whatever the features they want, what kind of dashboard they want, we really provide those kind of dashboards.
Sure, sir.
Yeah, so I'm just jumping on the street light solution. On the left hand side, you can see the street light. Those are communicable lights. Each light can communicate, and each light is communicating with the base station directly. And we enable each light should communicate at least with 3 to 4 base stations. So at least whatever the message is coming from the light is not missed in any situation. And then we provide the 1+1 redundancy backhaul, which is taking the entire data to the cloud and the application. So this is how the end-to-end system is working. And just to give the emphasis on the security, so this entire data is fully encrypted, 128-bit encryption, so that no one can hack the data, and even no one can retrieve the data in the middle. Only whatever the light is communicating is reaching to the control center, and when you are giving any command to the individual light, is reaching to the light only. So this is how the robust system we have developed and deployed at many places in the country today. Yeah,
Next.
please. So in the journey, we found that in some cases, group control is also needed. So we have developed the solution. By that, we provide group control as well as the individual light monitoring control. Individual light monitoring control is really beneficial in the VIP areas in the city, and then in some critical areas also, where we are really ensuring the women's safety and other citizen friendly solutions. Individual light monitoring is really helpful because you will get the real-time data. Group control is beneficial in I would say that where road is straight and connectivity is good, you can also do the group control, which is used, which we can do with the CCMS panel. So we have integrated group control as well as the individual light monitoring control, and we are providing the common dashboard, common software application. By that, we are managing the entire city. Yeah, please move on to the next one.
Sure, sir. Sir, we are running short of time.
Yeah. So I'll cover. Yeah. So these are basically the benefits to the utilities. If you implement the individual light monitoring system, we can really reduce the carbon footprint by reducing the patrolling, unnecessary patrolling, regular patrolling. Whenever fault is there, it is reported in real time, and you can send the team only when fault occurs. And that too with the GPS navigation, the patrolling car has to reach there just on that place only. It is not just first they will do the recce and they will check from the field and then they will rectify it. But here in this case, you will get to know the fault, exact fault, what has to be done, whether light is faulty or controller is faulty or power failure is there. So you can do a lot of troubleshooting in the control room, and you can take the corrective actions from the control room without mobilizing the unnecessary manpower on the field. This is how we can really saving the energy and fuel on the patrolling vehicle. Apart from it, we also enable the dimming solution. So in areas where utilities really think that dimming is doable. So suppose if we are providing 150 watt light, and from the night from 10 p.m. to 4 a.m. in the morning, just for the 6 hours, you can really reduce the wattage of the light from 150 watt to 75 watt kind of a thing. That provide the sufficient lighting, and you can also save the 50% energy during this period. So all those things we really achieved by doing the lot of projects in India right now. So this is the really benefits directly falling under the utility, I would say. And please move on to the last one.
Last slide.
Yeah, 11th slide. 11th slide.
11th.
Maybe you can leave the 11. You can go to the 12th one. Yeah, I have already. Yeah. So this is how the device is looking like. Just want to give you the a bit flavor how the system looks like. So you can see this is the controller we provide. On the leftmost side, this is the NEMA based controller, which comes with the male connector, and in the LED fixture you have to have female connector. So it's just normal plug and play type of connectivity. You just need to put the LED and you need to install this controller. Automatically your light will be controlled and will be on the cloud. And on the rightmost side, it's the device along with the cable where lights are already fitted, and now power has to be routed through this controller. By that we manage the entire operation of the light after the installation of the controller. Can you move on to 13th slide? There's some installation.
Yes, sir. 13th one.
Yeah. So this is how the system being installed. You can see in one picture, controller is being installed on the fixture, on the leftmost picture, in the middle picture also. But on the rightmost picture, you can see we have installed the controller on the pole. By that we are managing both the lights on the pole. So this is how configuration works on the street light front. Can you move on to the 15th slide, please?
15th slide.
Yeah.
Sure.
So there are some references we have. We deployed the street lighting solution across India. We started with the Jamshedpur, it's a Tata Steel city. Thereafter, we did the installation in the Noida Authority, and we installed 80,000 plus lights in Noida. And we installed around 20,000 lights in Ahmedabad. Those are working on this system. And then we installed light in Hitco, Calcutta, where the system is working. Also in Vadodara, Faridabad, we made the installations. And we installed the individual light monitoring control system in Tata Steel plant. And we did a lot of projects with other utilities and the partners like Honeywell, Bajaj, Tata Projects, and Energy Efficiency Services Limited. So this is what we have done so far. And roughly today we are managing more than 200,000 lights in India. So this is all about the street light. And if anyone has any question, I will really respond to those in detail.
Sir, I think we'll take the questions during the panel.
Yeah.
We have a question answer session after the panels. We'll take the questions there. Thank you, Dharmendra sir, for the presentation, and I'm sure our audience and the esteemed members of the panel will find Tata Communication as one of the most reliable partners for their smart LED solutions. And now I would quickly like to invite our panelists for the panel, Future Innovation Impact on Urban Lighting panel. This panel is being moderated by Shri Arun Mural. Shri Arun is the Partner Digital Transformation in Government and Public Sector, Deloitte, Chennai, India. Our panelists should be ready for some in-depth questions. Joining him is Ms. Nalini Malik, who spoke at our earlier webinar also. Srimati Nalini Malik, CFO, Chandigarh Smart City, Chandigarh. We also have Shri Anand Menon. Shri Anand Menon Garg is VP, Agra Smart City, PMC Agra. Joining Shri Menon in the discussion, we have Ms. Shri Kripa Guru, Joint CEO, Pasighat Smart City, Arunachal Pradesh. With such an esteemed guest, I will now like to invite Shri Arun to take over the panel. Over to you, sir.
Thanks, Neha. Fantastic. So I was just been through the remaining presentations as well. So one, I want to first, thank this organizers for giving us a good panelist, which has a varied experience, call it operations, finance, technical, and you have the consultant as well, and you have representatives from the industry. So I'm very, very thrilled and sure that we're going to have a very healthy discussion, and there'll be a lot of takeaways today on this most important topic that we're going to discuss: the future innovations and impact on urban lighting. So just to have a quick back, we've listened to what the Pune Smart City CEO had shared. This is not just an Indian phenomenon. I would want to tell that while we are doing it here in India, I could quickly recall, see, and find out that there's a lot of things happening across the globe on the similar fraternity. While that being said, let me just go deep dive into this topic. This is a non-conventional, non-renewable energy which we are trying to play around. Every urban city is, the street lighting is an important parameter that they need to keep on, because from a public safety perspective, while we keep that as an important parameter, if you look back in the last 50 years, it has been predominantly sodium vapor, now slowly moving to the LED lights and the next generation LED lights with all smart IoT devices. So this has been the journey. Let me hear from Shri Kripaji, who is the CEO of Pasighat Smart City, to understand how they have adopted this entire journey. Particularly, if Kripaji could highlight to us, while they were transcending from the traditional, conventional, street lighting to this new street lights, what were the various challenges and how did they actually go forward? Kripaji, are you available?
Kripa sir, can you hear us?
You are on mute, Kripaji.
Yes, sir. You'll have to unmute yourself. There's a mic where you'll have to click. There's a mic button, sir.
Okay.
I think if we can move on to.
Yeah, no problem. So
But
while
ma'am-
we,
I think he's there. Yes, he's there. Yes, sir, we
Yes,
can
ma'am.
hear you.
ये मैम सुनाई दे रहा है?
हाँ सर, सुनाई दे रहा है.
Okay. Good afternoon, ma'am.
Good
Good
afternoon, sir.
afternoon.
Actually, I'm on traveling.
Okay.
Thank you, sir. Sir,
Yeah,
Pasighat, regarding Pasighat, तो last 3 years से हम लोग देखा है, लेकिन पासीघाट का लाइट जो है नथिंग इम्प्रूव, बहुत मैंने सिटीजन का बहुत पार्स कंडीशन में मिला सर. तो इसके लिए हम लोग स्मार्ट सिटी में मैंने प्रोजेक्ट रखा था स्ट्रीट लाइट 8 किलोमीटर का. तो आपका ये इंक्रीज है हम लोग का एक लास्ट तक हम लोग पासीघाट में 8 वार्ड थे. There are 8 काउंसलर्स और पासीघाट जो है आपका 1911 का सिटी है, ओल्डेस्ट सिटी इन दी अरुणाचल प्रदेश.
Okay.
तो ये लास्ट द एज ऑफ पासीघाट 110 years है सर.
Absolutely. Okay.
लेकिन अभी तक लाइट का ही बहुत प्रॉब्लम है सर. तो इसलिए मैंने ये आपका मेरा बोर्ड ऑफ डायरेक्टर्स एसपीवी को मैंने रिक्वेस्ट किया था, हमको पासीघाट में लाइट को ठीक करना है, तो मैंने स्ट्रीट लाइट को फोकस कीजिए, इसको फोकस करके हमको सिटी को थोड़ा उजाला बनाना है.
Absolutely. Correct.
तो उसमें हमारा ICCC है, we have already set up माने integrate command and control center, they are go live. फिर भी सर बिना लाइट का वजह से हमारा जो सीसी कैमरा जो है क्रिमिनल को हम लोग डिटेक्ट नहीं कर पाता है.
Correct.
जो क्राइम, तो इसलिए सेफ्टी ऑफ द सिटीजन इन पासीघाट के लिए सर हम लोग स्मार्ट सिटी में आपका स्ट्रीट लाइटिंग के लिए प्रोजेक्ट रखा है. इट्स अराउंड 5 years है.
Okay.
और 8 वार्ड में each वार्ड में पासीघाट एक्चुअली मैंने आपका 5,000 पॉपुलेशन है. तो each वार्ड में ये 3 हाई मार्क्स वाला डाल देगा वो.
Okay.
ताकि हम ये क्रिमिनल अग्रम इजीली डिटेक्ट कर पाए और लोग भी हैप्पी हो जाए और हमारा सिटी जो उजाला हो जाए.
Absolutely. Very, very nicely put, sir. Apna city
सर इतना
ujala
है
hona
सर.
hai. Yes, that is absolutely the dream, sir. For every commissioner and HOD, they would want their cities to have been well lit on two counts. One is from a safety angle, and another
Yes,
is
sir.
also from also potential traffic challenges and other potential accidents that it may prevent. So it has been good, sir. So we heard you. So we understand that your journey, while you're traveling towards this migration of LED streetlight, and we
Yes,
also
sir.
identified this project of 5 crores. We wish you great luck, sir, in that initiative. Some of the learnings when we look to other cities have been in this way. When they actually moved into this particular fraternity of LED lighting, the changeover of existing lighting, like for instance there would have been stairs, sodium vapor lamps. How do they manage that has been a huge problem in many of the cities, while they have actually so there were some cities who had planned it out using a buyback scheme with the existing system integrator. That is one useful idea that some of the cities have adopted. While this has been there, so I would also want to call upon Miss Nalini Malik to understand about her perspectives in terms of the financial aspects, because all of us know street lighting is a very, very costly affair, and it is, and with LED coming in, it is almost three times the cost that would increase, but the benefits are huge, in the years to come, and the savings are huge. So, could we hear from Ms. Nalini as to how this entire journey and what is her perspective on, from a financial perspective, on this LED migration?
कृपा सर, if you can mute yourself, आप वो वापस से म्यूट बटन सर अगर क्लिक कर सकते हैं, कृपा सर. पीछे से वॉल्यूम वॉइस आ रहा है ट्रैवल का. कृपा सर, if you can hear us. अरुण सर,
Yes,
you can
yes,
just.
yes, sir.
हाँ, एक
Yeah.
बार सर उसको म्यूट कर लीजिए. नेक्स्ट क्वेश्चन पे आप अनम्यूट कर लीजिएगा प्लीज.
अच्छा.
यस सर.
Yeah. Is Srimati Nalini here in the panel now?
Yes sir. Nalini ma'am, I think you can hear us. Nalini ma'am, hello.
Okay, I think there was some problem with her video, right? So
Yes.
she's joining back. I'm sure this, this PPP model, I'm sure as a consultant, Anand, you would have dealt this time and again. Or till Nalini ma'am comes and shares her perspective as a CFO, why don't you share something to us about on the PPP modeling for this particular, initiative?
See, one of the things that can be done by a tier 2 or a tier 3 ULB is that, like one of the models which the state government of Punjab has also tried is that what they've done is that they've tried to model it using an ESCO model, that is energy service company model. So now what happens is that to make it more lucrative for the ESCOs, they have went into a cluster-based approach. Like the whole state of Punjab, they divided into 4 or 5 clusters, and in each cluster they have clubbed the nearby ULBs and the panchayats and other things like that, so that a sizable number of streetlights are there to be changed. Now this ESCO company comes in. Now Bureau of Energy Efficiency has already empaneled a set of 40-45 ESCOs, and they've graded them into grade 1, grade 2, and grade 3 ESCOs depending upon their financial capability and other things like that. So what could be done over here is that, and then this ESCO comes in, and then the ground level, the base level energy assessment is done, and based upon the energy savings that the ESCO energy savings committed is one of the bid parameters for the ESCO. Then based upon the energy savings that commit, a kind of the payment is done. Suppose if 100 rupees is your electricity bill per month, after the implementation of this energy saving, after the conversion to LED streetlights, if the bill comes down to 70 rupees, the 30 rupees which is saved, that is shared between the ULB and the ESCO over a period of time, till the time in which the ESCO recovers its money plus the profits, kind of a thing. But now, having said and done, there were 2 or 3 challenges which has actually hampered the actual replication of this projects elsewhere. One is that the base level energy consumption because that is one of the critical factors or one of the pillars of this ESCO model to be successful. Because now what happens is that suppose in the ULB there are 5,000 street lights. When you do the energy consumption analysis, if few amount of street lights may not be working, or some amount of street lights may be under repair and all those things and all. So at that time the energy consumption may be less. But and then so ineffectively when it is converted to LED also, that saving, it will have an impact on the savings also. So that ground level survey, because typically what happens is that that much of importance is not given to the ground level survey and the actual relevant data, not based upon the secondary resources. You have to go to each street light, find out its present hours of consumption, what is the actual wattage, if any leakage is there and all those things. Then you can actually boil down to the actual energy consumption that is happening on ground, which will actually form the pillar of the ESCO contract, because otherwise the whole financial goes for a turmoil and other things. Now, and the second challenge is that the financing for the ESCOs. Now, the ESCOs, when they go into the banks for the financing, banks don't basically treat it as a energy efficiency project or this thing. They typically treat it as like a balance sheet financing and all those things. Then it becomes very difficult for the ESCOs to go in for the balance sheet financing. They ask for the collaterals, they ask for the other security mechanisms and all those things. So that is actually, that ecosystem needs to be built over there. Even the banks and the financial institutions need to have that appraisal teams in place, who can actually see an energy efficiency project as an energy efficiency project. And they should be actually banking upon that savings, and they should be banking upon that technology and the expertise brought into by the ESCO, and that savings which they are guaranteed, rather than going into the balance sheet financing or the collaterals or the land bank of the promoters of the ESCO and other things. Then it goes to a typical normal this thing. And for that, now certain changes are there. There are certain energy efficiency funds under USAID and all those things, funds that has been set up. Now Bureau of Energy Efficiency has come up with partial risk guarantee fund and all those things. So those needs to be actually tapped in. But there is an information dissipation gap, that how to avail this at a tier 2 and tier 3 level ULBs, and between the BA or the other institutions, or there are basically there are certain private equity funds or certain sustainable energy funds also who are willing to look at the ESCO models. So the project development process and forming the key pillars of the project is and conceptualizing a risk-free project is very important over there. So that project development phase is actually quite important in this. So if that is there, then you can see more and more ESCOs coming in, and more actually getting the benefit out of it. And this cluster-based approach is one thing that can be tried by various states also.
Absolutely. Well, that's a very good idea. I think you've got 2-3 points very valid in terms of, looking at alternate funds and, some of the challenges within the ESCO model. I'm sure, Srimati Nalini also would have, found out some challenge here. Ma'am, we would like to hear from you, your perspectives on the similar model, how your city has actually, traveled this path.
Thank you very much, Arun. So let me have this opportunity to speak on this platform. Hope I'm audible to everyone.
Yes, ma'am. Yeah.
So Chandigarh has already implemented more than 48,000 street lights on PPP model with the assistance of EESL. As you know, that EESL is the major government venture who is supporting this energy efficiency project across the nation. So that already have been implemented in Chandigarh. Anyhow, that is basically an energy efficiency only. So now we are moving next to the smartness of the street lighting in the city. And as explained by Mr. Tomar, that the new feature that is coming up now with the daily monitoring of each and every street light. So we are shifting onto that. So initially we are doing it for around 3,500 lights in the city. That is in the APT area on pilot basis. And based on the results, we will see if the same model can be replicated in the entire city. So the major concern, as has been shared by Agra Smart City, is also I would like to bring into the note that financing of such project, since being ESL is getting good funds for energy efficiency from government, so they are able to handle those projects. But for a private player, such kind of projects may become a major financial crunch. In case the efficiency takes time to get, you can say that a perfect efficiency of utilization, maybe due to number of factors. So some different kind of model as suggested by, sir, I'm sorry, I just missed your name because it is being displayed, Agra Smart City.
Anand. His name is Anand.
Yeah, Anilji, sorry. So Mr. Anil said, so developing a fund, special fund for raising such kind of financial support for private sector should also be there, just to bring in more triple P in the segment.
Very good, ma'am. So it was so insightful to see that success story in Chandigarh. And, so one quick point in related terms is like, as you are entering into a phase of, real-time monitoring of these things. Might we hear from Dharmendra Thomar, in his presentation, he mentioned about group monitoring and individual light monitoring, right? So, would you want to share some insights about, while the city goes across for this intervention, let us say for whatever, because I have seen due to cost constraints, they start with the group monitoring. And for certain locations, they would still want to do for individual light monitoring because of, the purpose of use perspective, right? So would they be, would it require the same connectors and, things to be used, or would there be something different? Or is it something that we can, travel seamlessly later on? Could you throw a little light on it?
Yeah, so actually, I would say when LEDification, started happening in the country in 2014 and 15, which ESL really predominantly started doing it in the country. And I still remember 100 watt light cost was in the range of 45,000 rupees in 2014. And as of now, this 100 watt LED fixture is available below 10,000 rupees today. So, we, in fact, LED industry was not in a very professional industry before 2014, I would say. Usual business, sodium mercury lamp people were using, and they were buying and installing it. The market size was very small. Okay. But when LEDification started at a scale, like, as an energy efficiency program in the country, they just started, initially they started replacing the sodium mercury lamp or the, conventional lamps simply by the LED. Okay. So the theory was that, whatever the illumination we get in the LED, we can achieve it in the 10% of the energy. So whatever the light we are getting at a 300 watt in conventional lamp, we can really, in theory, we can get it the same light at 30 watt in LED. Okay. So people simply started doing the theoretical practice, and initially they started, deploying 150 watt LED instead of, 150, I would say 300 watt sodium mercury lamp. Okay. So people really did the value engineering or the lighting engineering at that point of time. They simply installed the LED. But LED was not the electrical device, it's an electronic device. Okay. Earlier lamps were the completely electrical devices. Okay. They have robust, performance in facing the turbulence of the grid, fluctuation in the voltage and the current and the earth leakage system. Okay. So when people started LED, a lot of failures happened. Then they realized there should be some, mechanism to, control the fluctuations. So then the concept came in, we should, give the regulated power supply to these LEDs, okay, instead of what we were giving earlier to the mercury lamps. Okay. So that is why group control came in the picture. And in fact, it was invented by the ESL. Okay. And since ESL was running energy efficiency program, they need to prove it, how energy is being saved. Okay. So suppose, like Mr. Sanjay mentioned, suppose 14,000 kilowatt was the load, and now it is 6,000 kilowatt is the load. Then how will you prove on the paper? So for that, energy meter was needed, right? So there was a concept originated that we should put a controller, a group controller that will have an energy meter. By that we can record the energy efficiency. Absolutely. So this is how group control system came in the picture.
Yeah.
Now we have a latest technologies available today. Even now we can really monitor the voltage or the power consumption or the fluctuations at the pole level. So we can really move forward on that. Apart from it, we can also do the geo fencing, geo alerts, pole location, asset monitoring. All those things we can really enable with the LED.
Absolutely. Good. Very nicely given the journey as well as to how it is, and very enlightening to see how the journey has happened. One quick point is nowadays I find poles getting loaded with a lot of IoT devices because of my smart poles, and so we're looking at more output from the same pole, right? Could we, what is your industry perspective? And then I would want to quickly come to from Srimati Nalini as well to hear from her as to what it is. So, but before that, could I hear from you, Dharmendra, as to from an industry perspective, how do you look at smart poles?
So yeah, so smart pole, it's a upcoming I would say the potential revenue stream can come to the utilities or the ULBs from the poles basically. So like utilities have already deployed smart poles, like Nalini can add here, because they already have the existing infrastructure in hand, right? They can utilize or leverage this infrastructure. Light already is there, and then you can put the signages, because a lot of marketing could be done, and those infrastructure can be really utilized. So this is, I would say, the potential revenue stream could come along with the smart lighting, like in ADB areas in Chandigarh. In fact, I met Nalini also in Chandigarh before the pandemic. So in ADB area, suppose they want to do around 5,000 lights. So on the selected locations, maybe 500 poles. Along with the individual light monitoring, they can put the signages or the digital marketing panels. Those messages could be changed with the time, and which can really bring some revenue to the utility, as well as it will also give the some safety announcements or some policy they want to publish on the in the street. They can really do it. So both the things are possible at the same time by implementation of the individual light monitoring control system.
Yeah. So thanks, Dharmendra sir. It was quite insightful. Could we hear from Nalini about her perspectives about smart pole and women's safety, how it is associated and then worked around? Ma'am, are you available?
Yeah.
Yes.
So there is, I guess, no need to explain that how the lighting in the dark is giving more secure environment for a woman in any city. Like we are also getting into the smart features just to ensure that little more security to the woman and the other section. Like if we have sudden discrepancy in any light somewhere in the city, and that criminals are active during the night times also, basically during the night times. So we understand that that spot may become a reason of any mishap. So that's why we are trying to capture the fault as soon as possible, and just for the convenience of the person who is going to attend that fault. So women's safety, definitely we are talking a lot about like roaming time for a woman in the city and their freedom to move around the city at any time. For all these things, we just cannot say simply that you just go out since you have a freedom. We have to create an environment, and ensuring proper lighting across the city is also one of the basic you can say requirement.
Absolutely. Yeah. Just taking it slightly to a more interesting aspects on the lighting parts, apart from majorly lux and illumination, today lightings have been also used for decorative purposes. Now I could find in many of the urban space, I could see many of the flyovers, bridges have been having good lighting system to enhance the overall architecture and the facade. So I want to share your perspectives on this in this decorative lighting part, particularly on this flyover lightings. I've also seen some on the international space, some people use drones also for lighting very innovatively. And they have used 3D laser for for pedestrians for crossing. So it's a very innovative things that are happening across the globe. Could you share some lights on it so and for the other members can also complement?
Is this a question to me?
Yeah, I was wanted to get Nalini ma'am's view, and then other members can complement her.
So Arun, we would like to bring to your knowledge that Chandigarh is you can say a heritage city, and
Yes.
there the architectural norms are quite
Correct.
high.
Correct.
And
Correct.
such kind of decorative lighting and innovative lighting, like in fact, much lightning in Chandigarh is known as light pollution. So these kind of projects, to be very true, are not so much welcome, as the nature of the city is different. It is different from rest of the other cities of the nation, and just for that difference, people like to visit Chandigarh. So we also do not want to impair quality, but for the basic necessity and for the basic facility to the citizens, yes, definitely we are always welcome.
Great, great. And that's the purpose I wanted to, because I've seen a lot of lighting in Chandigarh, very fantastically done. So I thought, so that's one city which has really done well on that particular front. Yeah. So, yes. And Anand and, Dharmendra, you would like to add your point of view on this, on decorative lighting?
Regarding decorative lighting, one of the things like in the smart city mission, also a lot of emphasis is there on city beautification, placemaking initiatives, like that kind of a thing. So if you see those kind of traditional cities where some, for example, considering Agra, of course, take away the Taj Mahal, but other than that, there are a lot of monuments and all those things and all, which by using this facade lighting, or for example, certain key buildings in the area and all those things, basically that nightlife of the city can be enhanced. So it can actually enhance the tourist experience in the city also as such. And for example, Lucknow in UP, the Charbagh railway station, if you do now, it has been wonderfully done. Facade lighting is there, so it enhances the experience of the passengers coming at night into the station, kind of a thing like that. And now at some places, one of the thought process which one city had done was that there were a lot of trees leading in the main corridor. So each tree they had actually themed with a different lighting. So when in the footpath, when actually a person walks, he's actually taken through various themes along the various trees. Then during the Christmas season, one of the tree will have a red theme, rest white, so it will be like a Christmas father walking, like that. So some of the indirect impacts that can actually come up is that more and more people would actually start using the footpath. It would be actually enhance the experience that that streets for people, more and more people would start using the streets for walking. They'll say, "Yaar, wo street mein kuch to hai, to ab chal ke dekhte hain ek baar ye wo karke." Along with the families, they start walking and all those things and all. So there is a lot of indirect impact also on such kind of lighting and all those things. Yeah, but another thing also which will have to be analyzed is the electricity consumption and all those things and all is there. But when considering all the indirect impacts and all those things, and I feel more and more cities should go ahead, because some of the monuments which have been really will actually get a facelift. If in Tamil Nadu also, like in Tanjavur and all, one temple is there on top of a rock fort, which has actually been done by the ASI, which has been uplifted like that and all those things. So like that, a few case studies are there. But I feel that it can be explored. Like most of the cities have a Gantaghar, that clock tower is there. So the clock tower could be highlighted. So that becomes the tourist the prominence.
Placemaking thing. Yes, yes.
Selfie points could be there and all those things like that and all.
Absolutely. I think that's that's a fantastic ideas. Now, what about Dharmendra, your perspective from an industry point of view?
Yeah. In fact, initially LED especially street light came only with the white color. Now multiple colors are available today. In fact,
Hue lights.
In Mumbai Marine Drive, initially they installed the white street lights. Then the beauty of the Marine Drive was really damaged with the white light. Then they changed it to the yellow color again with the yellow light. Okay.
Yeah.
Similarly, like Nalini mentioned, Chandigarh is a heritage city. In fact, Agra is even bigger. It's a Indian, I would say, the biggest heritage, I would say.
Yeah.
So now with the smart lighting, what you can do, you can use the same LED which can change the color with the time. Even in the winters, if you want the yellow color on the street, that is doable. So this is really doable with the individual control and monitoring system. In fact, maybe on the, I would say, on a street where lights are also there on the divider pole and on the service road, you can keep, service road with the white color and divider road with the yellow color. These are the things could be really doable, and these are configurable and changeable with the time, with the night, whatsoever we want to do it. This is a smartness really we can bring. Like I can really appreciate the the thoughts which came from the Anand. In Agra, like Agra near Taj Mahal, you can really make lot of beautification only with the help of the light.
Yeah, so so many of the cities have adopted, and as Anand was mentioning, if it is on specific themes, they run this lighting show. I still remember the famous sound and light show that used to happen in the Andamans, right? So I think we have the roots of it, and many of the urban areas are trying to multiply. In a recent proposal, there was also a place where they were going to use sound, music and lighting in key junction areas, and also in subways. They call this as a musical staircase. So as people get down, they used to hear different sound, and it also resonated well with differently enabled people. So so it kind of gamified the entire thing. So these are some of the innovative things that apart from the traditional lux we are using light for, and we are really making much use of this LED lighting and these associated activities. So we are very much on the top of the hour. So I just want to quickly have a quick round of a summary of what we have discussed. We started off by saying that how the journey has happened in terms of inclusive of LED street light, and we heard from Sri Kripaji how they are in their own process of migrating into it, and still that has become a huge problem that they are trying to overcome. And we also seen many of the other countries are also parallelly doing and embracing LED street lights, and from there and we moved into some of those PPP models and innovative models by which which this embracing of these activities happened. And that's when Anand had jumped in to say that there are multiple avenues instead of just the conventional capex model. We can also look at other models, particularly the ones which are energy efficient, which gives benefit from energy escrow models. So those models could be leveraged. And then we looked into aspects about the lighting as a technology. We looked at what are the various monitoring aspects. While as Nalini ma'am clearly highlighted, the next immediate step after LED lighting is about monitoring them. So we saw about what could be importance of lighting it, whether it is individual level or group level. So that's when the industry representative Dharmendra had come out and shared the technology piece of it, how it is done and what has been the journey and how it has been critical. And then we moved into the most emerging side of the lighting is the decorative lighting that many of the smart cities are now leveraging. So that I see clearly that both from Agra and Chandigarh, they have well exploited this particular thing and then setting as examples for many other cities in the country. So this is also well seconded by the industry from Dharmendra. So we've had a complete good nourishing experience. As I said, this panel has been a good experience from all quarters, right? From finance, industry, consulting, and from the CEO himself. So therefore, we are able to bring in a good amount of knowledge share. So with this, I want to place it open for any quick Q&A from the audiences. Otherwise, we could take it to the next step.
तो अब मैं क्या करूँ? मुझे फिर से लॉगिन करना पड़ेगा?
Okay, so another question that came out was in terms of grievances. I'll just open it to the the entire panelists. The question was related to how do they manage the grievances when it comes to streetlight not burning? Any innovative thoughts? Some of the cities I could see that they have started to use as, of course, smart pole is definitely a solution. For other cities where they have already put out the pole and they don't want to have a pole getting changed out, they are looking at QR codes to, being emphasized part of the code, so that, people are able to recognize the pole. They don't have to go and type out the asset code or the pole code. They just, use the mobile phone, press of a button, they send the message that a particular device in this pole is actually not functioning, right? So likewise, just to any innovative thoughts on the grievance side of it. Any quick thoughts from anyone?
But like it's an interesting question. Like one of the things that many of the cities are trying to do is that, see, under smart cities now all the 100 cities are mandated to have the integrated command and control center. So in the integrated command and control center, one of the basic objectives is that all the basic civic functions are getting integrated, whether it be related to water supply, sewerage, street lighting, or this thing. And under the Amrit scheme, one of the mandatory reforms is that doing a GIS based mapping of the city. So most of these smart cities are undergoing for a city level GIS mapping of their assets also, whether it be underground assets, like in terms of underground sewerage, water supply using the GPR survey, then in trees, parks, gardens, street lights, and all those things. So under the GIS mapping of the assets, most of these street light poles are getting numbered. And for example, in Agra and in many other cities also, they're opening the GIS portal to the citizens also. So the citizens can actually log in the citizen GIS map and they can actually see the assets and all those things. So tomorrow, when I go on a street, when I see a particular pole is not functioning, I can actually log into that portal, and app is also available. I can actually point out to the street light and then raise a complaint, and the trigger on a real-time basis, it gets alerted in the ICCC, and using the standard operating procedure based upon the severity of the complaint, it goes to the chief engineer of the chief engineer electrical of the Nagar Nigam or the respective AE or the GE, or the respective lineman. So that real-time basis of a complaint getting registered and the spot, and along with the complaint going to the concerned person on a real time. That as per the technology is available, the frameworks are available, and all those things. So now it depends upon the city managers and the city leadership to how to basically effectively use that. Because yes, the technology is there, the platforms is there, the framework is there, but how do you handle the resistance to change, and then how you actually rope in the entire city administration to actually move in with that change and other things. So that is what that can be actually targeted. Then you can see actually that frugal innovation or getting the 2x 3x benefits from the existing infrastructure itself, that will be actually possible.
Arun sir, I think you are on mute.
Oh, I'm sorry. Thank you, Anand. I was just reiterating the fact that it was a very nourishing knowledge chat today. We had a lot of pointers being discussed and new thoughts. I'm sure the audience would have a lot of things to take back home. And one thing we open our connects also, so that if any of the particular audience would want to reach back to us and get more detail, they're absolutely available for support. So thank you for giving this opportunity, Neha, for cooperative research. Thanks, and it was fantastic. Thank you.
Thank you, Arun sir. With this, we come to a closure of the event. We are thankful to all our speakers and for the time that they have given for this webinar. They all are busy professionals, and even 10 minutes of their time is a big contribution from them. And we are also thankful to the supporting staff that made this happen from the background. And we are also thankful to the audience for coming over and joining the webinar. If there are any requests, then please contact us as info@cooperative.com. We'll get back to you soon. And the minutes of the webinar recording will be available on the website as well as on the email. Please feel free to download it from there. Thank you once again, sir. Goodbye.
Thank you. Thank you.